The moment I stepped into the glittering ballroom, a cold shiver ran down my spine. But it wasn't the chill in the air. It was the sight of her, my wife, laughing with a man whose hand lingered on her back, her body leaning in like a moth drawn to a flame. Every laugh she let out was a dagger, and the ease with which she flaunted her charm made my stomach twist. I gripped my glass tighter, pretending to sip as I silently watched her flirt openly, as if our marriage were a costume she could shed at will. But beneath my calm, a storm brewed. I'd spent weeks tracking her messages, piecing together a web of betrayal I wasn't ready to confront, until tonight. Across the room, her best friend was oblivious, laughing with a colleague, and I knew she would be the perfect bait. Tonight, the truth wouldn't just surface, it would explode, and nothing would ever be the same again. I approached her best friend, my smile polite, but my mind sharp as a blade, and asked her to dance, feeling every eye in the room shift toward us, including my wife's. Her smile faltered for a split second, the first crack in the mask she had worn for months, before she recovered and returned to her performance of carelessness. As we moved across the dance floor, whispers began to stir like tiny tremors before an earthquake, but I ignored them, focusing solely on her. I leaned close to her friend, whispering a simple phrase that sent a jolt of comprehension through her eyes. She understood the trap, and I could see the adrenaline spike as she realized her role. My wife, oblivious of the full plan, continued laughing, but I noticed a subtle twitch in her fingers, the tiny shift in her posture, the first signs of panic she couldn't hide. And then, like a predator sensing blood, I knew the moment to strike was now, and I could already sense her unraveling beginning. The spotlight hit us unexpectedly, and suddenly the room seemed to shrink around her, every guest drawn to the tension radiating from the center. I guided my friend with precise movements, letting her voice carry the right mix of innocence and provocation, while I observed my wife's unraveling composure. A sudden vibration from her phone froze her mid-step, a notification she had hoped I'd never see. And the brief flash of the screen revealed messages that confirmed everything I had feared. Her flirtation wasn't innocent, it was calculated. Panic replaced the playful spark in her eyes, and her forced laughter became strained, her carefully chosen gestures grotesque imitations of charm. But even as I prepared for the final blow, a nagging thought crept into my mind. What if there was something even darker behind her deception? I twirled my friend deliberately, drawing her closer to the center, and casually mentioned details that only someone who had secretly observed her world could know: late-night meetings, coded texts, whispered promises. My wife's eyes widened in disbelief, and a bead of sweat traced down her temple. She tried to intervene, brushing past us with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. But the damage was done. The whispers started to circulate, curious glances flickering toward her as the crowd sensed something amiss. My friend's laughter rang genuine and carefree, but every word she spoke was a careful instrument, each one exposing a hidden betrayal, a secret my wife had buried deep. And then a tiny glimmer of proof flashed in my mind, the secret that would turn this humiliation into a revelation no one could ignore. As the music slowed, I saw her trembling subtly, the mask of confidence shattered, replaced by raw panic. I leaned close to my friend, murmuring the next trigger phrase that would finish unraveling my wife's carefully curated illusion. She passed at the microphone with casual elegance, and suddenly, the screen behind the DJ lit up with proof, videos, and messages that tied her not just to flirtation, but to outright betrayal. Gasps rippled across the room as the evidence played out for everyone to see. My wife's jaw dropped, the air around her thick with disbelief and fear. But just as I thought the night had peaked, her phone buzzed again. Another message, from someone I had never suspected, hinting at a secret double life I hadn't even imagined. The crowd leaned in, some whispering questions, some staring in shock, but all were captivated by the spectacle of her downfall. My wife's best friend laughed softly, a triumphant yet controlled sound, and I could see the fear and regret colliding in my wife's eyes. Every attempt she made to explain, to cover, to recover, was like watching a house of cards collapse in slow motion. I moved closer, silent, calculating every micro-expression, knowing the final act was at hand. And then the message on her phone revealed the ultimate betrayal, a meeting arranged behind my back, not just with a colleague, but with someone from my own inner circle, a friend I had trusted for years. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She hadn't only lied about flirting. She had been orchestrating a full betrayal, a scheme I hadn't anticipated. Then, as the murmurs crescendoed, I finally spoke, my voice low, measured and deadly calm, a single sentence that cut through the tension and left no room for evasion. I revealed a final piece of irrefutable evidence, a secret video of their clandestine meeting, one she believed had vanished in the digital ether, now displayed for all to see. Her face turned ashen, eyes wide, as the room collectively exhaled, sensing the gravity of the truth. People shifted, whispering judgments, staring in shocked silence, all riveted. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. The betrayal was complete, total, and public. Every lie, every act of deceit laid bare. And just when I thought the story had reached its peak, her phone buzzed once more, showing a message addressed not to her, but to me, a confession she had tried to hide even from my eyes, revealing a plot that would have left me ruined had I not acted tonight. Finally, I stepped back, letting the silence carry the weight of revelation. My wife, broken and exposed, could only stare as the room absorbed the magnitude of her deception. My friend and I shared a subtle glance, a silent acknowledgement that justice had been served, that deception had met its reckoning. As I walked away, leaving her amid the chaos she had crafted, the music resumed, almost mocking in its cheerfulness, while whispers of truth rippled through the guests. And in that moment I understood, some betrayals are too intricate to escape, some lies too heavy to hide, and some truths too explosive to ignore. Tonight had begun as a party, but it ended as a reckoning, and she had lost everything she thought she controlled, her secrets, her lies, and ultimately, my trust.